quite a few books that I read in 2024 that I never got the chance to film a reading wrap-up for. In today's video, I want to go over some of those books. So the majority of these are horror. There's a couple of thrillers in here as well. And it's been quite a few months since I've read them, so I'm going to do my best to go over them. But let's go ahead and get right into it. The first book to talk about is called The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. In this emotionally raw and propulsive folk horror mystery, a journalist goes to a small town and unravels a dark secret that the women have been keeping for generations. The ending felt a bit anticlimactic and there wasn't much horror present, but overall I found the story to be new and I liked the themes explored. I don't honestly have a lot of memories from this one at all. If I didn't have my reading notes here, then I don't think I would have been able to tell you guys anything about this book. Yeah, there wasn't much horror present. I think on Goodreads it is tagged first with horror, but it wasn't very horror to me. I don't feel like it was very horror, more literary fiction, but like speculative literary fiction. But yeah, overall, not a terrible book, 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Craven Manor by Darcy Coates. Daniel is desperate for a job. When someone slides a note under his door offering him the groundskeeper position at an old estate, it seems too good to be true. Alarm bells start ringing when he arrives at Craven Manor, but an envelope waits for him inside the doorway. It contains money and promises more. Daniel is desperate. Against his better judgment, he moves into the groundkeeper's cottage behind the crypt. He's determined to ignore the strange occurrences that plague the estate. But when a candle flickers to life in the abandoned tower window, Daniel realizes Craven Manor is hiding a terrible secret, one that threatens to bury him with it. That synopsis got me really excited to the point where I forgot that I only rated this book a 2 out of 5 stars. Yeah, because that synopsis sounds so good, but I didn't love this book. The main character of this one frustrated me. That's what it was. He was very like black and white in how he views things. So he would be like, this person's evil. No, this person's good. No, this person's evil and this person's good. And it was like so back and forth. And he trusted everything that everybody would tell him as like it was truth. And he was making willfully ignorant decisions based on that. So he really bothered me. Okay, I did love the descriptions of the old decaying abandoned manor. That was very creepy. This one gave me a very similar feeling to another book that we're going to talk about in this video. Another Darcy Coates book, Ashburn House. Because it had aspects that were very similar. Oh gosh, there was another character in this one that I said was the most annoying character ever. His name was Kyle. He was like a dude bro who was just messing things up for the main character and not caring whatsoever. I think he was the main character's cousin. Oh, okay, there was more stuff. Like at one point, the main character ends up in this town and it didn't make sense to me like where he was in the story. I was having trouble picturing what was going on. Like, was this all on the Craven Manor property somehow? But I just didn't understand how all of a sudden he was in this town and there was like no explanation. At 75%, this story is annoying me so much, mostly because the main character is so dumb. You can't just barrel ahead after only knowing pieces of facts and fiction and not knowing which is which. 82%. This has gotten to be so tedious. I'm ready for it to be over. At the very end, I was like, can this just end? Oh yeah, because at the end, it would be like 3 weeks later, 2 months later, 6 months later. Like, I feel like this should have ended at least 5 times now. Yeah, we didn't need all those, like, there was like 5 different epilogue chapters. It was fine, nothing special or new. The characters annoyed me so much and I found some of the writing to be really cheesy and forced. Okay, yeah, I have liked some of the I liked most of the Darcy Coates books that I've read, but Craven Manor was not one that I really liked. It was very over the top, very unbelievable. What makes haunted house books scary is that you feel like it could actually happen. And I didn't feel like what was actually happening in this book could actually happen. Like, it didn't end up scaring me whatsoever. The next book to talk about is called Specs. This is a graphic novel, and I really do want to read more graphic novels. So it's a supernatural 80s throwback. Small town Ohio, 1986. All Kenny and Ted want is to not feel like outcasts. What happens when a pair of x-ray glasses mysteriously appear? The magic specs open a world of possibilities for these misfit teens through the granting of literal wishes. Things start out innocent, but when they wish that their bully would disappear, things take a cursed turn. with far darker consequences than they thought possible. Kenny and Ted realized they've received much more than they bargained for. I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. It's essentially a be careful what you wish for story. It centers around a queer main character and deals with themes of being yourself, friendship, and the consequences of our actions. Trigger warnings for racism in this book. This story is contained within just 4 issues and could be read in a single sitting. I really enjoyed the art style and thought that there were some fantastic immersive spreads. The only thing is, with how short it was, I did find that I didn't connect to it as much and wished it could have been a little bit more fleshed out in areas. For instance, more time spent on the wish making in the beginning, or time spent getting to know the characters a bit more. Overall, I think this was a solid read and an enjoyable experience. I remember I did like the art style. I thought like the illustrations was really cool. And I do remember like not being blown away by this one. Like it didn't really move me too far one way or the other, like into love or hatred. Overall, fun, I guess. Honestly, I don't really remember it. And that's also a good test to like be reviewing these books months and months after I read them and see, is there anything that I remember about them? And for the last 3, very, very little do I remember about them. The next book to talk about is called The Chamber by Will Dean. A tense, suspenseful, locked room thriller that takes place inside a hyperbaric chamber. 6 experienced saturation divers are locked inside a hyperbaric chamber. Calm and professional, they know that rapid decompression would be fatal, and so they work in shifts, breathing helium and surviving in hot, close quarters. Then one of them is found dead in his bunk. With 4 days of decompression to go before the locked hatch to the chamber can be safely opened, the group must watch one another's backs at all times. And when another diver is discovered unresponsive, everyone is on edge. What or who is taking them out one by one? And will any of them still be alive by the time the 4 days is up? Or will paranoia, exhaustion, suspicion, and pressure destroy them all? I had pretty high hopes for this one because the setting was so interesting and I love a locked room thriller. I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Overall, I really liked the first part of the story, but as it kept going on, it just became more of the same thing and I got really bored. Okay, I found the writing to be straightforward, direct and to the point. It was claustrophobic. My favorite feeling to get in horror and locked room mystery stories. So I had never read anything close to the storyline where characters are locked in an underwater chamber like this. I can't think of anything I've read, but that was a really fun and different setting, which was cool to get like this job that I've never seen done before, like deep sea diving, and get a lot of details on that. Like I thought that part was well researched. Very fast paced. Okay, no, it wasn't. It was only fast paced for the first half of the book, okay? By 54%, the second half of the book has slowed down where they are working on ascending. So the second half of the book is all about them trying to slowly decompress as their thing is ascending. And the book starts going so slow at that point because it's like the characters sitting around. They have nothing to do. The characters are just sitting around talking to each other and they go around in a circle, everybody telling like different stories. And that was so boring to me. That was like, nothing's happening. Our characters are just sitting in a circle, like having a campfire session right now. Like, I don't know. It was kind of boring. So 3 out of 5 stars. It had some interesting different parts, but overall it was like very slow. I thought it was good. I thought a book like this would be very fast, and I guess the first half was kind of exciting, but once we get into the second half, it just slows down so much. The next book to talk about is another Darcy Coates book, and that is called Dead of Winter. And this is set in a remote cabin in the snowy wilderness. It will teach you to trust no one. There are 8 strangers, 1 killer, nowhere left to run. Yeah, I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It kept my interest. I thought it was fast-paced, and I thought that the short chapters were fun. It had an intriguing mystery of who or what is picking off the characters one by one. At a certain point, it became very unbelievable to me what was happening. That's what I found. Oh my god, I just realized. I found that to be in a lot of Darcy Coates books, that at a certain point, it just becomes unbelievable. And there's a way to do horror and have it be like fictional, you know, like speculative, but still be something that you could actually see happening. And this book turns to a point where like I could not see what was happening anymore. I don't think that would have worked out like that. That's just too, it's like you went too far. you went just a little bit too far there and it's no longer believable. Overall, it was okay. It kept my interest most of the time, but some of that aspect got a little bit frustrating to me. The next book to talk about is called 𝒔 Hungry Dark by Jen Williams, and I really, did I like any of these books? I rated this book 2 out of 5 stars, another one that I barely liked. Macabre murders plague a rural town as a scam artist psychic races to find the answers in this haunting thriller. Yeah, I really did not like this book. It's following a woman who is like the synopsis said, a scam artist. Her and her family pretend that she can see ghosts, and they kind of like trick people into giving them their money. And then she meets this journalist. She finds a body because she actually does kind of have psychic powers. But the way her and her family is doing it is like exploiting people. And so she finds this body, police get involved, and then there's a journalist, and her and the journalist have a romance going on, and I found that really annoying. Ugh, I didn't like the romance between the journalist and the main character. Oh, also her family was really annoying. This one was a lot of like between characters, like relationship drama, and I don't know, that just wasn't for me. I started to skim this because I was really bored. I wanted to DNF it, but I tried to keep going. Oh, there's a lot of flashback portions where the main character is a child that just felt like we didn't need those. We didn't need as many of them, and too much focus on the romance with the journalist character. Okay, the concept of the fair folk is really interesting to me, and I'd love more focus on that. And also Ashley, the main character's grandmother, who seems to have the same gift of seeing, the main character can see these like figures, and her grandmother had the same gift, they call it, and they call it shadow people. I thought that was really interesting, and I wish it would have focused on that a little bit more. The ending reveal was really interesting. The curse lore combined with the cult vibes was pretty creepy to imagine, but I don't know, overall I just found this one too slow. I didn't like the romance. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so 2 out of 5 stars. The next book to talk about is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I rated this 3 stars, but I'm gonna lower it to a 2. I remember that this book was extremely slow, and I'm saying that for all of these books. The vibes I got from like all of these books was that they were too slow. And here's the thing, at this time when I was reading all these books, I was in a reading slump. So kind of everything felt like it was too slow for me, and I wasn't really enjoying the hobby of reading. I love stories where the horror is nature. The more claustrophobic, the better. I wish there was more variation in the story, as this got very repetitive. That's what I remember, is it was repetitive. Like, I felt like I kept rereading the same scenes over and over again of our main character who is cave diving, which is a setting I love. I love the, like, seeing cave diving is super interesting because it's so scary to me. But it was like just the same thing over and over again. Like, she's climbing, she's doing this, something in the cave. And the whole book is mostly just the main character, like you see through her perspective, and she's alone. And then in her ear, she's listening to this woman who is working with her. I started to get bothered too with those 2 main characters because something develops between them, and I felt like that was incredibly forced. I felt like it was unbelievable. Like, I felt like one of those characters was really manipulative, and I did not like to see this like attraction that started developing between them because it felt like Stockholm syndrome to me, and I couldn't get along with that. Like, just don't give me the romance. Like, we didn't need the romance at all in this one. Yeah, so overall, I'm giving that book a 2 out of 5 stars. And the final book to talk about in this video is another Darcy Coates book, and that is The Haunting of Ashburn House. Okay, I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I think every single book in this video, nothing was higher than a 3 star. That's not great, but again, I was reading these all during a reading slump, so. This was the second Darcy Coates book that I read. I'm enjoying her writing as something simple and easy to read, however, the stories themselves haven't blown me away. Especially this book, I know is not going to stick in my memory whatsoever. It was an easy read, but didn't do anything much for me. Well, that is a great test. Again, like, do I remember anything about any of these books? And I kind of remembered about Dead of Winter, and I kind of remembered about The Luminous Dead. But the rest of these, I'm like having to read all my reading notes and see like what did I think about them because I don't remember anything. The Haunting of Ashburn House, I rated it a 3 out of 5 star. It was like middle of the road. It was easy to listen to. I liked the author's writing style, but it didn't leave a huge impression on me. Okay, another one, I'm sorry I keep saying this, but another one that turned so unbelievable. So unbelievable. Like I couldn't. I don't know, like I find a difference between like, I read like books all the time that have stuff in it that's unbelievable, right? Like, okay, so for example, the September House. Like you could say that whole book, what happens in it is unbelievable. Like that probably, if you don't believe in ghosts, then you would say that there's no way that could ever happen. But a book like this, The Haunting of Ashburn, but I still felt like what happened in it, it felt like it could happen. Like it felt like that could be real. Like I could really see myself there. But then something like this one, The Haunting of Ashburn House, it just hit a point where I was like, no, like even if I was in that situation, like this would not be happening like this. Like I can't even understand why the characters are reacting in the way that they're reacting. Like that just doesn't strike me as real. And I couldn't get along with it. Like if it doesn't feel real to me, you know, like it can be fictional, but still feel real at the same time. So yeah, it does get more exciting towards the end. Solid 3 star. You definitely have to not mind a bit of an unbelievable story. Yes. Okay. So I didn't love that one whatsoever. Not at all. That is actually the rest of the books that I never got to film a reading wrap up for. So I've actually finished finally talking about all the books that I read in 2024. Yes, that makes me feel so accomplished and so happy. I feel like I'm like a little bit getting back into the groove of starting to film again. Like a little bit. However, though, I tried to film yesterday and I deleted it, everything I filmed. But that is all the books that I have to talk about in this video. If you've read any of these books, if you've heard of any of these books, let me know what you thought about them. But other than that, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.